Furious world leaders are putting the screws into Donald Trump and twisting it. In the past 24 hours alone, look at what has happened. France and Norway entering into a deal regarding France's nuclear umbrella, which France has also extended to Poland, Lithuania, and other European countries. You had Canada entering into a major arms deal with Sweden, passing over United States military offers. We'll talk about what went down there, and the United States ambassador to Canada is losing his mind and further offending the Canadian people. You have the UK entering into military alliances with Poland on a bilateral basis. Meanwhile, you have Oman entering into critical deals with Iran as the United States threatens to bomb Oman for asserting its sovereignty. You have Saudi Arabia, Turkey, other Arab nations forcefully pushing back against Donald Trump's demand that they enter into the Abraham Accords. All the while, you have the United States threatening an imminent invasion of Cuba. You have the United States violating its ceasefire with Iran, attacking near the Strait of Hormuz, which Iran then retaliated against the United States by striking a U.S. Air Force base in Kuwait. You have this conflagration right now in the Middle East as the U.S. and Israel continue to drop bombs on innocent people there. You have Israel issuing evacuation orders in Lebanon when they know that a ceasefire in Lebanon is critical to an overall peace between the United States and Iran. Israel demanded that the people in the city of Tyre the ancient city of Tyre evacuate immediately, a city of 200,000 people. And then Israel started blowing up the entire city. We have footage of all of that. Yes, hell is breaking loose right now across the Middle East, and you have world leaders forging these critical alliances. Let's just go through the receipts, because I know our corporate news in the United States and probably elsewhere in the world aren't covering this or making the connections. It's so vital we make these connections. Number one, French President Emmanuel Macron says that Norway has agreed to join the French nuclear umbrella. Norway will come under France's nuclear umbrella. There was a critical meeting that took place in Paris. Prime Minister Jonas Gahr Store of Norway met with French President Emmanuel Macron and said, we are joining France's nuclear umbrella. Now, France offered to extend this protection to other European countries as well. You have Poland and Lithuania joining. It's notable because of Norway's proximity to Russia. We're seeing these Nordic nations working with Canada as well, and European nations, they call themselves mid-powers, if you will, joining together and forming a superpower out of mid-powers and projecting nuclear strength. You saw my report yesterday morning about France increasing its nuclear arsenal. France is now saying, look, as a result of Donald Trump's behavior, as a result of the behavior of Putin, as a result of the behavior, the rise of authoritarianism across the world, France is no longer sitting back in silence. When it comes to our nuclear arsenal, we are going to expand the nuclear arsenal, and we are going to come up with a new nuclear deterrent model working with European nations to extend our nuclear umbrella with our Rafale jets. And that's precisely what's going on. So that's the first thing I wanted to talk about. Number two, let's just go through this piece by piece. It's so important that you and we all learn what's going on in the world right now. Because again, we're not getting it anywhere else. Canada has agreed that it will buy Saab from Sweden's Global Eye early warning aircraft instead of Boeing's E-7 wedge tail. You know how there's the E-3, those AWACS that Iran destroyed? The E-7 wedge tail is the next generation version of the earlier version of the AWACS. And Canada said, we ain't buying American anymore. This is at the same time that Canada is doing its review of the U.S. F-35s. And Canada's, I think, leaning towards the Gripen, which is also made by Sweden in addition to the Global Eye, because as with the Global Eye production, they can work with Bombardier in Canada, Canadian company, as they have before, do a joint plant, hire a lot of Canadians, and Sweden's offered the same thing with its Gripen, while the United States continues to threaten Canada. We're going to impose more tariffs on you. We're going to withdraw from NORAD. We are going to withdraw. They have from the United States-Canada Defense Pact that goes back to 1940 and World War II. It's constant threats. Oh, and Donald Trump's like, we have kill switches on our jets. Why would you want to do business with him? Prime Minister Carney sure as hell doesn't want to do business with Donald Trump and the United States and American defense manufacturers when Canada's being threatened like this. So Prime Minister Carney announced yesterday that this deal with Saab's Global Eye of Sweden is going to support Canadians' strategic autonomy, jobs, closer defense ties with Europe. Carney made the announcement. Ulf Kristersson of Sweden made the announcement. Incredible stuff right here. Here's what Carney writes. Canada has entered into negotiations to procure Saab's airborne early warning and control aircraft. This new system will help the Canadian Armed Forces to detect and deter threats across the Arctic and support more than 3,000 Canadian jobs, from skilled trades to engineering and tech. But pay attention and read the subtext, because if you're reading it like I'm reading it, you also think this is the appetizer, if you will, to the Gripen purchase that I think is going to happen soon. Maybe there'll be a little bone thrown to the F-35s, but I think Canada's going Gripen. Tell me what you think. Ulf Kristersson of Sweden posts the following message. Canada has decided to move forward with Saab Global Eye as its new airborne capability for the airborne early warning and control. I look forward to welcoming Canada into the Global Eye family. Now, Pete Hoekstra, this vile human, he's the United States ambassador to Canada, and Canadians hate this guy. This guy is MAGA through and through, a terrible human being. He came after MeidasTouch and Meidas Canada. Remember when he came after Charlie Angus? When Charlie Angus said, okay, come on Meidas Canada, tough guy. Hoekstra is terrified of Meidas Canada, a pathetic, weak human over there, detested in Canada. Here's what he said on Radio Canada regarding the defense relationship between the United States and Canada, as Canada is arming up, as Canada not only meeting its defense expectations, but exceeding it. They just don't want to do business with the United States anymore. Watch this pathetic ambassador to Canada. Let's play this clip.
You think Canada is not doing enough in terms of its defense spending?
Well, like we said, we're thrilled that they got to 2. Now they need to keep moving forward.
Yeah.
They've sent some clear signals that Canada's going to be sovereign in the Arctic, and they're going to defend it on their own. Okay, and that may not be a partnership with the United States and Canada moving forward.
Now, here's the courageous Mark Carney, Prime Minister of Canada. Here's what he had to say on rearming Canadian armed forces. Let's play this clip.
The world's changed. We all know that. Canada must change with it. We get that. And that's why just 6 weeks after forming government, we announced our ambitious plan to rebuild, rearm, and reinvest in the Canadian Armed Forces. We embarked on this project first and foremost to protect Canadians, to defend our territory, to secure our borders, and to protect our sovereignty.
And this, by the way, comes at the CANSEC, which is the Canadian Security Conference. That's where this announcement went down. More from Prime Minister Carney talking about the steadfast commitment to defend Canada, to protect our real eyes and bring Canadian jobs. Let's play this clip.
Using that new framework, we're beginning to move ahead with ambitious major investments for our defense and security. And today, as part of our steadfast commitment to defend Canada and to protect our allies, I'm pleased to announce that Canada has entered into negotiations to procure Saab's airborne early warning and control aircraft.
Now, similarly in Paris, Norway announced that it was opening those talks with France about its nuclear umbrella. Watch as the Norwegian Prime Minister Jonas Gahr Store stands next to French President Emmanuel Macron. Watch what they say. Play this clip.
Prime Minister, you gave your approval for Norway to join what we called advanced nuclear deterrence in the Elong speech. This is a very important step in our partnership and will drive a very ambitious cooperation.
Norway shares a 200-kilometer border with Russia, which is now running a brutal full-scale war against another neighboring country, Ukraine. And Russia's largest nuclear arsenal is located 100 kilometers from my border in the high north. And as I repeat to our allies, those weapons are not directed primarily against me, but it's a strategic weapon that really concerns homeland security for many others.
A story that's not getting nearly enough attention, though, which I think should, is the fact that the NVIDIA chief, the NVIDIA head, Jensen Huang, he has announced, and this is what's being reported as well, that he may be taking this board position at Beijing's Tsinghua University, according to Financial Times. And I just think this is a trend that we're seeing as Donald Trump has destroyed American university system. We're seeing executives, top researchers, scientists, educators, professors, innovators, entrepreneurs saying, why would we want to go to the United States? What is ICE, Border Patrol, Gestapo going to throw us into concentration camps and starve us to death and give us illnesses and kill us and shoot us? Or what are you going to do? You're going to throw us out of college while we're studying. You're going to terrorize and harass us and be racist to us and be hateful. Who wants to be a part of this Trump regime that spews this vileness and hate and terrorism on a daily basis? So people are going to China. And so while the Trump regime is threatening Cuba, while Israel's threatening everybody around them as well and committing genocide, you have China standing up for the sovereignty of nations. I mean, China speaking the way the U.S. once spoke. So here was China's foreign ministry spokesperson talking about as Donald Trump prepares to now invade Cuba. Here's what China says about respecting sovereignty. Here, play this clip.
Always advocates for respecting countries' sovereignty and territorial integrity, opposes the use of threat or of force in international relations, and opposes violation of other countries' sovereignty and interference in other countries' internal affairs under any pretext. All countries should observe international law and the purposes and principles of the UN Charter. China firmly supports Cuba in safeguarding its sovereignty, security, and development interests.
Oh, I gotta show you one more part of that clip with Radio Canada of Pete Hoekstra. You're gonna want to watch this full clip right here where Hoekstra just whines about how the Canadian people don't like to be bullied and how the Canadian people went elbows up and punched back. And now the Trump regime's like, why would you do that? Why are you being so mean to us? You'll just see a psycho, a sociopath right here. Sometimes I say sociopath and people are like, Ben. Not a sociopath, a psychopath. Here's Pete Hoekstra. Play this clip.
There's some disappointment and maybe some frustration. I think we believe we could have moved further on the trade negotiations, which are due in 5 weeks. Yeah, so I think there's just a little frustration and disappointment.
From the U.S. administration point of view, what should Canada be doing right now when it comes to trade?
I've been giving my advice to Canadians for the last 11 months.
Which is what?
I'd say put on your sales hat. Okay? You could make tremendous sales pitches. I mean, if America is going to be getting cars from outside of America, why getting them from Ontario is absolutely the best place in the world for America to get them. You could make the same kinds of cases for uranium, for potash, okay, for aluminum, for steel, auto parts, and you go right down the list. And too often that hasn't been the approach.
You've been also quite vocal about the alcohol ban by provinces that was put in place in retaliation to U.S. tariffs. If Canadian provinces were to put back the American alcohol on the shelves, would that, would that lead to a tariff relief from the United States?
No, I mean, we think the alcohol ban is totally unfair. It's a clear indicator of how 11 provinces feel about trade with the United States. They're sending a very, very clear message about how doing business with the United States doesn't appeal to them. The Prime Minister has reinforced that message. Okay, and so it creates some questions about, does Canada really want to do business with the United States? So here you've got folks who are doing everything they can to get the Canadian public to rally against America. Just doesn't make any sense.
But do you understand where that frustration is coming
Absolutely
from?
No.
In Canada? Because,
No.
A lot of Canadians are saying, well, we didn't do anything wrong. And suddenly Donald Trump, put tariffs on us.
We put tariffs on everybody in the world. There are 2 countries that have retaliated against America. Okay?
China and Canada.
You said it, I didn't.
Just to go back to my question, there's a long history of collaboration between Canada and the United States. And, we have CUSMA. So I think, again, Canadians felt that, they didn't do anything wrong. And then there were those tariffs. So they were like, well, we need to fight back. We need to do something in return.
We weren't fighting with Canada.
So tariffs are not fighting?
We have long-term relationships with Europe. We have long-term relationships with Japan. We have long-term relationships with South Korea, with Australia, okay? It's our policy. And it's a policy that is uniformly administered. Sure, there's different tariffs for different parts of the world, depending on economic circumstances and that. But the concept of tariffs is uniformly applied to everyone that we trade with.
So why should Canadian provinces put back the alcohol on the shelves if there are no guarantees? What's in it for them to put back the alcohol on the shelves?
We're not negotiating tariffs on alcohol bans, okay? It was a clearly retaliatory effort by Canada. We've made it clear that, we've given a list of irritants that we have with certain Canadian policies and those types of things. At the top of the list is the alcohol. Mexico had a list of irritants. Mexico had a much longer list of trade irritants than what Canada had. After all the work that's been done over 7 or 8 months between the U.S. and Mexico, we will officially begin the bilateral, final negotiations to finish the review, which is due in roughly 5 weeks.
Mm-hmm. And there's no date for Canada.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That this Politics account did of what he says the White House is going to look like 3 months from today. It's not that far off from what the White House actually looks like today. Look at what the White House previously looked like. Here's what Donald Trump's doing with it right now. There's like an asbestos hole ditch where Trump tear down the East Wing. You can see that right there. And I think we'll be learning about all the asbestos deaths that come from that in the future. That's my own opinion, giving you my opinion. Then look, he's building looks like a roller coaster. Like bizarre. I mean, it's obviously the stage for this UFC fight that they're doing in a few weeks. What the hell are they doing here? The world looks at that with disgust. Grotesque thing the United States has become under this Trump regime.
You know that moment when you're looking to head out the door and you just need something that looks polished without ironing or overthinking it? That's exactly why I wear Mizzen & Main. Just grab it and go. Mizzen & Main makes classic menswear with performance fabrics so you can look sharp and feel great all day long. No compromises. Mizzen & Main actually invented the performance fabric dress shirt over 10 years ago, and since then, they've perfected it with modern fabrics. Mizzen & Main shirts and pants look refined, yet they're stretchy, lightweight, moisture-wicking, wrinkle-resistant, and completely machine washable. No ironing or dry cleaning. When you put their clothes on, you'll feel the difference instantly. You can wear their clothes literally anywhere, from the office to the golf course to your backyard to backyard barbecues. These are clothes you can't wait to keep on, each inspired by a classic, but built for the modern world. And here's something really special. Mizzen and Main is a veteran-led organization committed to supporting those who served. They offer a year-round military discount and proudly give back to veteran organizations. Now, this is a great time to give them a try. I love Mizzen and Main, and I know you will too. Right now, Mizzen and Main is offering our listeners 20% off your first purchase at mizzenandmain.com, promo code MeidasTouch. That's spelled Mizzen, M-I-Z-Z-E-N, and Main, M-A-I-N.com, promo code MeidasTouch for 20% off. Mizzenandmain.com, promo code MeidasTouch. And if you'd rather shop in person, you can find Mizzen and Main stores in select states.
More alliances, as I announced at the beginning. Here we have Prime Minister Keir Starmer of the UK and Prime Minister Donald Tusk of Poland. Starmer announced, the challenges we face in Europe demand strong partnership. Today I've signed a defense treaty with Donald Tusk to strengthen our shared security and capabilities. This is the biggest step forward in our defense and security relationship with Poland in a generation. Prime Minister Tusk of Poland says, long live the Polish-British alliance. The Northern Treaty, the Northolt Treaty has been signed. Actual deal making taking place, forging stronger alliances. Remember, I've been talking about this at a granular level with you every day now. These bilateral relationships, restructuring a global world order, right? You have the United States, America first has meant America alone, the mid-powers doing bilateral deals and also doing broader deals with each other. You have China becoming the main kind of organizing actor right now in the newly established world order, leading BRICS, leading other international entities as the Trump regime has pulled away. That's where we are right now. I mean, while you have deal making and real relationships being forged, the Trump regime yesterday announced, this isn't deja vu, they did it again yesterday. CENTCOM, or Southcom rather, not CENTCOM, Southcom within the Trump regime, Southern Command, announced that they blew up another fishing boat. Just watch some of this B-roll right here. It's a little tiny fishing boat that isn't even moving, that they blew up right here. What they're saying, Joint Task Force, Southern Spear, Eastern Pacific. The powerful United States Navy, the powerful United States military is out there blowing up little fishing boats. About 200 people have been slaughtered by the Trump regime, not given due process, not given any rights, murdered in cold blood by war criminals. Each and every one of the people in this chain of command is a war criminal, in my opinion, who should be tried in The Hague for war crimes, because blowing up fishing boats like this without giving people due process, then you go, oh, they're narco terrorists, they're narco whatever. By the way, even if they were narco, if they had drugs in the boat, which we know over and over again they don't, people deserve due process. They get tried. We're the United States of America. We don't just go and kill people. And we've also learned, setting that part aside, we learned that there are so many innocent people who have been killed throughout the past. What are we doing here? How is this what the United States has become? And it has because people have normalized and allowed these scumbags in the White House to behave like this. And it bothers me so damn much to see this, because I don't care what political party you're from. Just from a humanity perspective, spanning the borders, what the hell is going on here now? We also know that yet again yesterday, when Donald Trump was at that deranged cabinet meeting, he goes, I demand the Arab nations join the Abraham Accords. Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Pakistan, Turkey, you must become allies with Israel. You must be Netanyahu. And they're like, why? What? We don't want to be allies with Israel. What are you talking about? Until there is a Palestinian state, a two-state solution, East Jerusalem as the capital of Palestine. We don't want to join the Abraham Accords. What does that have to do with the U.S. and Iran peace deal? And a Saudi source told Haaretz in Israel, look, I guess Trump is free to say whatever the hell he wants and he can think as he pleases, but in the Middle East, strategic steps are not taken through public statements or political fantasies. That's the Saudi Arabian quote. Saudi Arabia is the gateway to the Arab and Islamic worlds, and therefore any steps of this kind requires a clear diplomatic counterpart, an independent Palestinian state. Separately, this Saudi Arabian social media individual, Abdulsalam Saleh, big presence on social media, said, we're surprised by such rhetoric directed at Saudi Arabia. This is not the approach for which American diplomacy is known, but rather seems more like Netanyahu speaking from the White House, talking about the kingdom joining the Abraham Accords as if it were a mandatory directive does not reflect the language of respect between nations, but rather a mindset that seeks to usurp sovereign decision-making. Has Washington begun to lose its political compass in the region? Yeah, it's lost that compass when Donald Trump was elected. Frankly, the first time as well. As Mamoun Fandi explains, Saudi Arabia is a continental scale country, the birthplace of Islam, one of the world's richest energy powers, and a state with global influence across Arab and Muslim worlds. It can buy technology from the US, China, Europe, Japan, South Korea, or build its own. So what exactly does Israel add? Israel's not a strategic asset to Saudi Arabia. At best, it is a functional subcontractor in security and technology, a tool, not a civilization center of gravity. The assumption that every Arab state must orbit Israel is a fantasy produced by Israel's self-importance, not a geopolitical reality. And with this taking place, as I noted earlier in this video, the IDF issued an immediate evacuation warning to residents of the southern Lebanese historical city of Tyre and the surrounding areas, a city of 200,000 people, and then started blowing it all up. We have videos right here of Israeli military striking what they say is Hezbollah infrastructure in Tyre, Lebanon. And apparently the Hezbollah infrastructure is like the city because, according to Israel, because you see the entire city being leveled. And we know that under the pretext of Hezbollah, they've leveled all of Beirut. They've leveled Gaza and committed a genocide there. They've leveled, areas where lots of innocent people live, as well. And then, of course, last night that the U.S. attacked Iran. Iran retaliated by attacking U.S. air bases in Kuwait. And with all of this going on, and I mentioned before as well, the U.S. planning on invading Cuba. The U.S. has all of its warships right around Cuba. It's got its drones circling Cuba right now. And then let's not forget what's going on right now in Congo and in Uganda, where there's an Ebola outbreak. The United States cut its Ebola division into, U.S. pulled into the Trump regime. U.S. pulled out of the World Health Organization, got rid of its Ebola detection, got rid of all of the CDC officials who work on Ebola response. So now the CDC sent an urgent request to its workforce to recruit personnel to help screen passengers coming from Central Africa for any potential signs of Ebola illness, according to an internal email to staff obtained by ABC News. They're asking for volunteers right now because they've destroyed and gutted the entire CDC. And now, when we look at what's going on in Congo, there is one hand washing station and one infrared thermometer to fight the Ebola epidemic in one camp of 10,000 displaced people in Bunaya, a city at the heart of the outbreak in eastern Congo. If there was only an organization that was helping address this, USAID, CDC, the United States' former robust role in dealing with international pandemics. But no, under the Trump regime, they viewed that as waste, fraud, and abuse, while Donald Trump is building UFC stadiums and golden ballrooms and spending billions of dollars, $1.5 trillion military budgets, $300 billion to ICE and Border Patrol, Gestapo. Anyway, That's where we're at right now. I know we covered it. Well, I mentioned too, the Sultan of Oman signed an executive decree ordering Oman to increase its volume of trade and economic relations with Iran, right? People are moving away from the U.S. Trump threatened to blow up Oman yesterday as well. And then also I'll mention North Korea testing its rocket systems, flaunting its nuclear weapons. South Korea announced nuclear submarines that it was building out. That's what's going on right now in the world. I could cover many other countries, but you get the point. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million subscribers. Thanks for watching, everybody. I know this was a comprehensive video. It was dense. We covered a lot of material, but it was important. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million. Thanks for watching.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.